What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's discussion about the book that we've been reading. If you haven't been paying attention, Invisible Cities by Italo Calvino. Thought I would add a little bit of an extra sensory element to the equation here and stand in the stream. Try to connect. Try to see if I could feel if there was some real purpose. Maybe the shock of something essential in abundance is about as shocking as something essential that is diminished in our ability to think that life is essential. And that is one of the things that I came to a sort of rhetoric in my head as I was reading today's passages, this idea of a city. And I'm going to cut to a poem that I wrote about 2 weeks ago right here. Riding on an unknown wind, does creation have a purpose? To those that create, or to creation? The drive, is it all the same? A dead space where emotion and logic meet. The unknown amounted with indecision, where a choice seems to decide all choices. What makes it fate? What is the act of creating? Is creation made for the creation or the creator? What of these things am I? There it is again, a greater question. How much a part of the system are creators? How much of creation has purpose if its purpose is creation? How much purpose does creation have if it isn't for creation? How much purpose does creation have if its creation has no purpose? And we're back, where I discussed this idea of creation and the intricacies involved in the wording to inspire the idea that creation is like this current. It is actually an essential component of our lives. All of us are connected to this idea of deity. I think that it's something that is internalized within each and every one of us. Whether or not we voice matters on this during the day or, in passing moments to ourselves or to others. I think that's why we've received warnings about being careful about what we believe to be true in our lives. Almost everybody can believe in that warning to some extent. Disregarding the exact backgrounds of your upbringing. That idea of there being a warning to knowledge and to be careful what you believe. And I think that it's because this idea of power, this idea of power is something that can wreck, it can ruin. It again is like a drug, something that we can become so saturated with that essentially the only conversations that we end up having are for the incentive of power. And there may be truth in power. There may be truth there, and I think that all of us can understand this idea of power, this idea of freedom. But I think that none of us are made to control that amount of power, and so ultimately it serves as corrosion, as destruction, as oxidation, as weathering. It is a storm. And perhaps in fleeting moments, storms pass by.
But if we are to forever chase the storm, then I think that eventually it's going to serve as something that we knew better. We knew better about many things. And it's this idea of where power comes from. This idea where he just sort of moves from thought to thought to thought, and all things commingle and coexist at the same time. And somehow your mind rearranges every story that you've heard. But in the end, you only come out with one line. And I think that there is some power in that. And I think that it's something that we can recognize as an essential component of our lives. And so, in this same place where this can be sort of something that wreaks havoc and causes ruin, this idea of power and of a city, in fact, where do we have decision? If we try to reduce all things to a common point of a minimalistic cause, I think that we can say that there exists true power in this world. But at that same point in time where everything has realization of all things, I think that there is another realization as well. That there exists two things. That there exists multiple things. As the stream flows, the bird sings. As the stars dance, as the winds bring. Is a moment planned, or is it by chance? Do things actually even happen, or is it all just a glance? And I think that there's a sensation of discovery. Is this sensation, perhaps something of courage, the idea of moving on? And this is something that I can also sense between Polo and the Great Khan. It's almost like something moving is trying to impart the idea to something that is still. Like it's moving around trying to see some point of inflection as a mode of reception, that it gets the idea. Waiting for any reaction. Is that all we are? Reactionary, because as soon as we've gone past words, physical interactions are too far. Or maybe that's really the only truth. But how do you speak to something that you can't move? And so I see this sort of play going back and forth between Marco Polo and the Great Khan, and it relates to basically my motive in speaking for this time. everything is so wishy-washy. I think that it connects with also another point that I've tried to embark upon many times. And that is having something matter whether it be something real that happens or an idea. That actually tells everything it's all right. Is goodness truth? Does goodness ultimately disprove everything? What would that make goodness? What does then that tell us about strife, about struggle? And is there some relation between something telling us what goodness is, what ultimately defeats everything? Maybe life is like some great stream. And it's a flow. What the difference is between streams and oceans, though, is that in oceans there's an ebb to the flow. Many different differences. Where do all things come from, and how do we make mistakes? Even. Are there mistakes? Are there bad things? Is there evil? And does truth ring? So can we teach lessons such as this? And so deep is our lesson that it's essential. Are these simple truths? Are these simple matters? There's fish in here, guys. So that idea that we all have power. And the more that we seek power, does it take it away? But the more power we have, is every move so little? Because nothing matters. If all you are is matter. And again, I'm speaking in hyper, like, fantastical ideas here. I'm saying, like, literally, I'm talking about I'm not talking about, like, power that you, like, plug in your, you know what I mean, like your car or whatever kind of thing. I'm talking about, like, power to literally just make things happen. Anything. I'll get reduced back down to where it's just in a vehicle here in a second, but just hang with me for a moment. This idea of power, where if all it is you, and you can debate whether or not there's a single point in which everything was, but it'll be hard to debate the point that everything's related to a point. But at that point, you could say almost like maybe anything would be good. Maybe it's like being hungry. When all you have is power, maybe all you have is hunger. Because what do you hunger for? Perhaps what food promises, choices. Food is the ultimate consequence. But under our intense heat and pressure at this moment, if food is the universe is alternate, then all I have to do is start talking about alternators, and we're back in the car's doors. Again, you don't necessarily have to try to make complete sense of what I'm saying and even try to connect all the dots or go through the maze. Maybe I'm just saying what sounds cool. Is there something wrong with that? And then maybe that's subjective, meaning that that's just that. It's not everybody's favorite. But I don't think that I should be blamed for it. Unless, for example, you try to say that there is some structure, maybe then I'm the great Khan in some way. Maybe you think I have power, but all I am is hungry. Power hungry, baby. And again, if we reduce all ideas to some point, then I think everything becomes questionable. Is my ultimate glimpse into that moment. The more we reduce everything to some solid point that we can draw all conclusions from, I think at that point everything becomes questionable. Now, that is because of what I've just stated in regards to all things being related, meaning that to an extent, at that point, I think you can probably realize that everything is temporary. Whether or not there's a grand consequence of all things, that all things play out to be, and that fantasy is still fantasy and reality is reality, perhaps then everything is still temporary. Which makes everything questionable. Which is why ultimate power only leads to cliche. And if we had ultimate power, then we only really move little. Maybe if we have no power at all, then we run around everywhere because it's like we're in a riddle. What about soft things and hard things? How do they all relate? What do they see? Do they see things differently? Are there different worlds among me? I used to play in streams all the time as a kid. It's been a minute. I can even like recognize like some of the little critters in here. I haven't seen in forever. Where if all we are is motion, we feel like we can cause nothing. Because everything moves, which means nothing is solid. Such is the battle of the great Khan and Marco Polo here. And anyways, I've tried to accentuate many different tones in this conversation, allow for there to be moments of hesitation, where keeping my feet cool kept down my frustration. Because after all, what am I really here for? Do you know? If you do, I think you should try and tell me. How does one not get frustrated dealing with such things and trying to render themselves into understanding? Like all it does is break you down, break you apart, piece by piece, trying to figure out the start. Maybe then in some way we see the city in different ways. All of a sudden there's dysfunction, there's disorder, there's other places that are greater and lesser. And these ideas of there being realities and fanciful things but ultimately, even if you believe in some sort of mechanical spring, I thought about that 10 years ago. That maybe that's why they say to stay away from power. Is it some warning about just having bad character? Or is it some warning that you'll never get an answer? And if you continually try to search and seek for such a thing, then I'm trying to imagine what is the greatest problem for people and why would they care so much? Probably the first place I'd look is because they care about themselves. We're in that pool of essentials again. And maybe you make things matter less to you if this is what you do. And maybe there's other ways to look at it and see it. Right? We can say something like, don't miss out on things. Or You'll never know true happiness unless you give it your all. You'll never know your self-worth unless you try your hardest. You'll never know what you're capable of unless you try your hardest. That one sounds more correct. Or at least realistic. And which one of these things is like the hardest reality? Could it be just changing your mood, changing your attitude? Which one makes you feel like you had to give up? But I want to think of something that is so basic it seems universal. And then in that, I feel like the idea of people wanting life to be more than it is there is the same feeling as there being something that is real and rational that everybody could agree that that's really what it's all about. And it affects everybody the same way. But it's really simple and really basic. So it's like the most extraordinary thing, which is getting everybody to agree, is basically just something stupid. Like, for instance, or for example, I know I have an example of this. Hello. We are not alone. sometimes it's almost like hard to think unless you're confined almost. It's like the expanse and like the sensation takes the thought away. The more exposed you are. It's like all thought is just a great fire, just continually saying whatever, but ultimately all words are just like a mirror. They tell us all what we want to hear. So what do you want to hear? Maybe I should ask the con. What do you want to hear? After all, is it the truth that we want to hear? Or is it good things that we want to hear? Maybe if I was to get a sunburn, then I might learn, is pain truth? Does the truth hurt? Which, again, is the end. Maybe we all can handle as much power as we can comprehend, but we understand that it's pointless in the end. Do I fear being alone? It's like I can't agree with this place. What can I not agree with? How light it is here? the fact that other people are here? Does life hang in the balance? The balance of what? What between what? Of what could happen and what doesn't. Is there some truth to it, or is that just being guilty by association? Where there really is no pattern. Am I too exposed to the elements? They all have thoughts of their own. Is this like the city then? Is this like the great Khan's throne? Where more is there competition? Between things you know or things you don't, or between things that have some vague familiarity, or between things that exist beyond your own comprehension? Is all of this just a luxury? Is what I'm doing too free? Am I actually freezing? Is winter what comes after spring? What can I believe? As Italo Calvino says, there is no language without deceit. Maybe there is no power without defeat. But again, is their choice? Is deception and defeat by our own voice? Ultimately, if we have courage, do we give things up? Is this experience that I have? Am I just showing up? Or am I like a dump? Why would we give up with courage? Why would we need to give up if we had power? Maybe there is a weight to ideas. Maybe all thought is like some fatty substance in which we're connected to some stream of conscious of some universal tissue. Is my answer satisfactory? Or again, am I just saying something good? Saying something cool? Maybe the truth drools. Is my error in having a cut, some edit of a segment? And not making everything new. Not trying to have everything come out of the blue. Time moves so slow here. Really, I have all the time in the world. I'm in no rush. Except for maybe to that which wants me. Who wants me? They know me. They know my history. Maybe I'm harder than what you can see. Maybe there's something that I haven't said that I thought was better unsaid instead. What do you think that I'm not telling you? Is there power in knowing something, but it's not about what? It's just about that extra thought? After all, it's the thought that counts, and it doesn't really matter what I think about, as long as when I'm thinking about it, I'm not here. Excellency! May all words come to me. May all things themselves be free. Echoes and lines. We take a step, we take another step. Then we take down our steps. Grab that object that you see. Hold it up for it to be. There's snakes among me, spiders in the trees, monkeys beneath rocks. and my hair is full of crawling things. See, now I'm just making stuff up. But is that not what I was doing before? Can you not distinguish the difference? Maybe our bodies are composed of intelligence. And when we study the idea of things that are separate, the different levels of what the mind goes through, there's the difference. All of a sudden, the idea of maybe we're blessed because of all the knowledge and of all the tests, all the knowledge that's come before us. Something that we think is so simple, K through 12, or whatever. But it's an amassment of all knowledge that was. Telling us line upon line about how things go. What about the first humans, though? Where were their lines? Which means, are we blessed? In the life before this, did we pass some test? What is your reading comprehension? Is it at its best? Maybe little things are what see intelligent things. Because they notice other little things. And little things, they add up. Little thing here, little thing there. A little thing muddy, a little thing clear. I could have stumbled upon 10 things by now. But maybe I'm just enjoying this too much. It's like everybody's pitching me the ball. And I get my stance ready. And they're all perfect pitches. Strikes! Everyone's a strike! But I don't get out. And that moment when maybe you're somebody who's played sports, then you'd know it. If you know, you know. Nice pitch. All of a sudden, destruction. Power is a great obstruction. Do you want to know what the problem is with what people believe in this life? They think they're better than other people. The reality is I have to bring myself down to understand it. Maybe the only way to get the con out is for Marco to throw a ball at it. He's using all these things to talk to the con. And yet, when Polo began to talk about how life must be in those places, day after day, evening after evening, words failed him, and little by little, he went back to relying on gestures, grimaces, and glances. So for each city, after the fundamental information given in precise words, he followed with a mute commentary, holding up his hands, palms out, or backs, or sideways, in straight or oblique movements, spasmodic or slow. A new kind of dialogue was established. Yo, what's up, guys?
How you doing?
Invisible Cities. Give it a read. Just doing a book commentary.
Are you filming a TikTok?
YouTube. My channel is Euphoric Intentions. The Great Con. What about the Great Cool? If there was ever something that everybody could agree upon. Maybe some hypothetical. this place in which all things seem to be odd. If somebody was perfect, you know, it'd be cool if I could catch that fish right there with my hands. Do you believe me that there's a fish right there? What about all things of an odd temperament? Can something sad bring people to agreement? Just standing in a stream underneath the high summer sun make you thirsty or quench it, son? Maybe wars aren't even met over things. They're only out of ideas. See, that had a double meaning in it, because it's like they don't have a better idea to like overcome the situation at hand. But I was also saying it's like they're made from just thoughts because it's out of ideas. Right? You got to keep up. You got to keep up with me here. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's because I have no plan. Maybe that's the reason. Although I've had plenty of videos like this before, so if I was to actually cite experience here, like this is not the first video of mine at all, or even like the 5th or 6th or 7th or 10th probably, where I've literally just spoken for like 4 hours. and never quite said exactly what I wanted to say. Like, I've done it many times on this channel. And then realistically, the only reason I'm doing this is to occupy my time. Because I feel like I have to fight. Maybe philosophy is fighting. Because fighting is saying that you already know. After all, if you already knew everything, then what would we have to do? So maybe I'm here fighting. In this stream, you can imagine some great battle scene. All of a sudden, I'm not here telling you this story, but my own, you see? Let me have your ears for a moment. Just a moment, please. 10 scouts. They've come from another galaxy. And you might say, why at this time? Why would this be? Well, as all things just seem to be, it just merely happened that way, you see. 10 scouts from another galaxy. And as you know, we're on the forefront of technology. Really, the only existential threat that people here might realistically have is if there was some sort of foreign visitor. After all, look at all of the things that we control and manipulate in our little labs, the things that we can create. Really, the only type of existential threat that this society might even have, at least that I can see, is something beyond Earth, something that mighty, that all of a sudden made its way here, you see. 10 scouts from another galaxy. And they have active camouflage that blends them into their surroundings. And they're scouting, and they happen, just as it seems, to come here, to this place of everything. And they try to understand the people that are here, because let's make it clear, it's competition. After all, in nature, it seems like the big conquer and the small fall. Let's be real, they're here for resources and all. But they just so happen to come here. And what do they see? They see people walking their dogs, a man on a bike, 3 young men. And they're trying to understand them. And they're trying to understand perhaps a threat. What does this place hold? What is there to get? And for some reason they think these things are such trivial beings. They're so unthreatening, they're not built for nature, it seems. And none of them seem to really know what they're doing. They're all just walking along. like there's really nothing worth knowing. So what is it about human beings they thought so they stayed here a moment longer? And they tried to really focus. And they're scouts after all. There's many dangerous things out in the vast expanse of space. So they tried to make a smart move before they made any move at all. And then something happened. A bug landed on one of their necks. And sucked some of their blood. It was a mosquito. Nasty little things. Well, that mosquito ended up flying away. And for whatever reason, mosquitoes' superpowers could make it see the thing. The damn thing. Anyways, it seems. And flew away and it bit another human, but then caused an outbreak, a disease. All of a sudden, humans could see something. They knew that something had caused something, and it was something so unlike anything they'd ever seen before. Just like a great story. You could tell the best one after all. Could go down in history. Well, all of a sudden, it brought all the cavalry in. It quarantined this place. And the aliens, all of a sudden, saw something that threatened them. Some order, militarization. Scientific facilitation. This is not my worst video by far. Nor is it the worst story that I've told and kept on my channel. What affects me? What is real to me? For a moment there, I had some thought about humanity. Just one more instance, the ball was thrown to me. And instead of pointing it out, I had the courage to go to where I couldn't see. What is cool anyways? Is it just cute? Anyways, I bet you never heard a story about some aliens that had a mosquito bite them and cause some mass infection. And through simple organization, all of a sudden there was aliens' frustration. Just another story. They left after that. I thought we were too crazy. Do you like the feeling more of water surrounding your body or of drinking it? What really is important to me? What do I feel like is out of my reach? Sadly, most things. It's like I'm trying to create a jagged rock, but just sitting here in this stream just smooths out everything. And yet I know, he would say, that my empire is made of the stuff of crystals, its molecules arranged in a perfect pattern. Amid the surge of elements, a splendid hard diamond takes shape, an immense, faceted, transparent mountain. Why do your travel impressions stop at disappointing appearances, never catching this implacable process? Why do you linger over inessential melancholies? What if I was to say something like, "Hey, Mr. Turtle, you know you, the one who races the jackrabbit all the time, I got something to tell you. Hey, buddy. One of these days, I don't know when. I'm not going to tell you exactly when, because I don't know. Guess what? Guess what? You're going to feel what it feels like to be fast, not slow. You do not come to ephemia, only to buy and sell, but also because at night, by the fires all around the market, seated on sacks or barrels or stretched out on piles of carpets, at each word that one man says, such as wolf, sister, hidden treasure, battle, scabies, lovers, the others tell, each one his tale of wolves, sisters, treasures, scabies, lovers, battles, and you know that in the long journey ahead of you, when you keep awake against the camels swaying or the junks rocking, you start summoning up your memories one by one. Your wolf will have become another wolf, your sister a different sister, your battle other battles, on your return from Euphemia, the city where memory is traded at every solstice and at every equinox.